Hey, good evening. I'm Courageous Fire. So please forgive me if this is a little bit rambly. I literally just walked in the door and have just barely put my bags down from the store, which is the experience that I want to share with you because um, so many times we think of courage as not being uncomfortable to do something. Oh, she's so brave. She's never afraid of anything. She's never uncomfortable with anything. And that's not true. Courage actually means that you're able to press forward even if you're afraid, even if you're uncomfortable, even if you're nervous and are considering the what ifs. So I do a quick go me moment. And I do those because, as I've shared with so many beautifuls, which is my name for women, um, that it is so important to celebrate wins. When we have tough times, you need to be able to look back and be able to pinpoint those times when you know you had a win, so that during the times that you feel like you're not winning, you can refer back to those moments more easily because you made a big deal out of them and they're easier to find. So I was celebrating this on the way home with a dear friend of mine. Thanks him for being available. Um, but I wanted to share it with you because I really hope that it will help someone today. So, Courageous Fire, um, the movement that is all about bringing visibility to the invisible foe of non physical domestic violence. I am not at all uncomfortable in talking in front of thousands of people. Um, but there is something a little more safe about saying something in front of a crowd of faceless people um, versus saying something one on one, because that's personal. That's me saying as an individual to another individual something that is going on and using my voice to advocate for myself in a personal, individual, one on one setting. That to me at times is a lot more intimidating. And for some of you, I'm sure it is as well. So today I was shopping at Walmart and I love self checkout. Thank you, Lord, for that. And I was in self checkout and there was this clerk, male clerk, who was trying to get on his break. Now, hey, I completely understand and appreciate when it's time for your break, you want your break. And I get that. What was wrong with his approach was that I pulled up to one of the self checkout tellers to start my scanning. He was standing literally like right here in conjunction to me. Like there was only maybe this much space between his shoulder and mine. And so I said, "Excuse me," to give him that cue of, hey, I'm going to need a little more space because you're a male and I don't know you. And I'm not comfortable with you being that close in my personal space. So he said, oh, and he probably moved about a centimeter over. And then he kept leaning over that area, trying to get the attention of someone else to relieve him for his break. But he's still standing pretty much the same distance from me. And so I said, excuse me. And I put a little more urgency behind it. I did that at least 2 or 3 more times. He never moved. He was like, oh, go ahead, ma'am. And so he conducted his business. He got his relief for his break and he left. And so then I was standing there with my moment, right? I'm tired. It's going on 9 o'clock at night. It's the end of my long day. I'm not at home yet and I want to get home. Do I leave that moment, not educate anybody in that store, not talk to a manager about what kind of situation that caused for a female customer and help advocate for myself in that situation and then pay it forward for other women? Do I just let it go and push my little cart on out to my vehicle. And so you stand there and you ask yourself, so if I say something, what's going to be different, right? But then you say, if I say nothing, nothing's going to be different. And how can I be courageous in front of crowds and not courageous to advocate for myself one on one and use my voice to help others one on one, live and in person? So I asked one of the ladies, one of the cashiers that was in the area, if she could get a manager. She was busy. She looked like she was going to be a while. And even though I wanted to definitely pay it forward and be that voice for myself, I had to go to the bathroom and I wanted to go home. So I was like, okay, let me try going ahead and seeing if I can flag somebody else instead. So I saw an African American male security guard and I said, hey, can I talk to you? He gave me the go ahead and I said to him, sir, and I explained the situation. And I said, I don't know if the employees don't receive training on certain types of social cues from female customers. And I said, but you know what, sir? I've been sexually assaulted. And that for me was incredibly traumatic, that I felt like I was being forced to share personal space like that with a male that I didn't know just to conduct my business. I said, is that something that you would be willing to convey to a manager? And he said, oh, absolutely. I'm so sorry you had that experience. He even tried to make sure he pinpointed which clerk or cashier that it was. And I was about to leave. But then the manager actually came over my way, and it was a female manager. And she approached me with the warmest smile on her face. I'm so thankful for that. As a woman who believes in the empowerment of other sisters, that made me feel really good that her initial approach was so kind. And so I, explained the situation to her too. And then I said, you know what, ma'am? There's a lot of people out here in today's world like me. They are put together. They are looking like they are calm and doing just fine. And I said, but you know what? And her eyes locked into mine and she said, but you're not. And I said, no, sometimes we're not. And I said, I don't know if that's training that employees don't receive, but is there any way that you could, kind of help male employees understand what that feels like and help them to respond in a more appropriate manner? And she was like, absolutely, I'd be glad to do that. So, even relaying that story still made my chest a little tight and a little uncomfortable, honestly. But you know what? It's not just important for me to share my story on the bigger stage, on social media, on my website, in live events, but it is so important for me to be that voice that helps other women know that it is okay to stand up for yourself if you are uncomfortable in a situation, and make that known and ask for something to be done about that. I wasn't combative, I wasn't confrontational, but I needed them to understand that that was important. And you know what? There's nothing I can do to control how they handle that, right? I can't do anything about it. And maybe nothing will change, right? But I tell you, the one thing that did change for me is it made me more bold. It made me even more courageous. And I had a win tonight. At the end of a really long day, at the end of a harrowing week for me, I had a win. And I wanted to share that with you because it's important to count those wins. I'm Courageous Fire, and I hope tonight I've helped you to ignite inspiration. Good night.